The midnight streets of Riverside were empty, save for the occasional streetlight casting long shadows across the asphalt. Mayor David Johnson gripped the steering wheel of his modest sedan, exhaustion weighing heavy on his shoulders after another 16-hour day at City Hall. The radio played softly as he navigated the familiar route home to his family. Red and blue lights suddenly exploded in his rearview mirror, cutting through the peaceful silence like a knife. David's heart sank as he recognized the aggressive driving pattern behind him. The patrol car had been following him for 3 blocks, weaving closer with each turn that he pulled over slowly, hands visible on the wheel, knowing the drill all too well. The officer's spotlight blazed through his rear window, turning his car into a fishbowl. Heavy footsteps approached, and David could hear the jingle of equipment, the creak of leather. Officer Rick Thompson appeared at the driver's window, flashlight beam dancing across David's face. His hand rested on his service weapon, fingers drumming impatiently against the holster. Thompson's eyes were cold, calculating, filled with something that made David's stomach twist with familiar dread. "License and registration," Thompson barked, his voice cutting through the night air like broken glass. David reached slowly for his wallet, movements deliberate and careful. "Officer, I'm Mayor David Johnson. I was just heading home from." "Shut up." Thompson's voice exploded with venom. "I don't care what lies you're spinning. Keep your hands where I can see them." The flashlight beam intensified, blinding David as he tried to maintain eye contact. "Sir, please, if you'll just look at my identification, Mayor." Thompson let out a harsh laugh, the sound echoing off the empty buildings. "Right, and I'm the president. You people always got some story, don't you?" David's jaw tightened, but he kept his voice steady. "Officer Thompson," he read from the name tag, "I understand you're doing your job, but I am the elected mayor of this city. My ID will confirm. Step out of the vehicle. Now." Thompson's hand moved to his weapon, fingers wrapping around the grip. His breathing grew heavy, aggressive. "I said get out." The situation spiraled beyond reason. David could see the hatred burning in Thompson's eyes, the way his body coiled like a spring ready to snap. Every instinct screamed danger, but David knew that any sudden movement could be his last. "Officer, please listen to me," David said, raising his hands higher. "I'm reaching for my wallet very slowly. My family is waiting for me at home." Thompson's weapon cleared the holster with a metallic click that shattered the night silence. The barrel of Thompson's service weapon gleamed under the streetlight, aimed directly at David's chest. Time seemed to freeze as the mayor stared down the cold metal, his heart hammering against his ribs. "You think you're better than me?" Thompson snarled, his finger hovering over the trigger. "Think you can just drive through my neighborhood like you own the place?" David's hands trembled in the air, but his voice remained calm. "Officer, please lower your weapon. I have children waiting for me at home." "Should have thought about that before you decided to mouth off to a police officer," Thompson spat, stepping closer. "Your kind never learns respect." Seconds crawled by like hours. David counted each heartbeat, each breath, knowing that one wrong word could end everything. The weapon's aim never wavered, Thompson's hatred radiating like heat from a furnace. Suddenly, another patrol car's headlights swept across the scene. Tires screeched against asphalt as Sergeant Maria Santos pulled up behind Thompson's vehicle. Her boots hit the pavement running, her own body camera recording every detail. "Thompson. What's your status?" Santos called out, immediately sensing the tension crackling in the air. She rounded the first patrol car and stopped dead. Her training kicked in as she witnessed Thompson holding a civilian at gunpoint, the man's hands raised in surrender. "Rick, lower your weapon," Santos commanded, her voice cutting through the night like a blade. "What are you doing?" Thompson's head snapped toward her, but his gun remained trained on David. "This suspect was resisting arrest, Sergeant. He's been non-compliant and aggressive." Santos moved closer, her camera capturing everything, her sharp eyes taking in the scene's disturbing reality. Santos's eyes widened in shock as recognition hit her like a lightning bolt. Dear God, Rick, that's Mayor Johnson. The color drained from Thompson's face, but his weapon remained steady. Sweat beaded on his forehead as the magnitude of his actions began to sink in. No way, that can't be right. Lower your weapon immediately. Santos barked, her hand moving to her own sidearm. That is a direct order, Officer Thompson. David spoke quietly, his voice carrying the weight of authority despite the gun pointed at his heart. Sergeant Santos, thank you for responding. As you can see, there seems to be a misunderstanding here. Thompson's breathing grew ragged, panic creeping into his eyes. But instead of backing down, his grip tightened on the weapon. I don't care who he claims to be. He was driving erratically, acting suspicious. Rick, I've worked with Mayor Johnson on 3 community events this month, Santos said firmly, stepping closer. I know exactly who he is. You need to holster your weapon right now. The realization crashed over Thompson like a tidal wave. His political career, his pension, his entire life was crumbling in real time. But rather than surrender, something darker took hold. His jaw clenched with desperate fury. This doesn't change anything, Thompson growled through gritted teeth. He still needs to learn his place in this city. Santos's hand found her radio, calling for immediate backup while never taking her eyes off the volatile situation unfolding before her. Thompson, you are under arrest. Santos's voice thundered with authority as she drew her weapon, pointing it directly at her fellow officer. Drop your firearm now, or I will use force. The standoff lasted only seconds before Thompson's survival instincts kicked in. His weapon clattered to the asphalt, the sound echoing like a gavel strike. Santos moved with practiced precision, kicking the gun away while pulling out her handcuffs. You have the right to remain silent, she began, forcing Thompson's arms behind his back as backup units flooded the scene. Their red and blue lights painted the street in chaotic colors. Captain Williams arrived within minutes, his radio crackling with confirmations. Mayor Johnson's identity verified through City Hall security, his personal detail, and the governor's office, he announced grimly. News vans materialized as if from thin air, their satellite dishes reaching toward the star-filled sky. Channel 7's lead reporter, Jessica Chen, thrust her microphone forward as cameras rolled. City Councilwoman Patricia Davis stepped out of her vehicle, her face a mask of controlled anger. This is exactly why we need police reform in Riverside, Davis declared to the growing crowd. No citizen should face this treatment, especially not our elected mayor. Thompson sat in the back of a patrol car, his career dissolving before his eyes. The charges were mounting by the minute: assault with a deadly weapon, civil rights violations, abuse of power under color of law. Mayor Johnson straightened his tie, composing himself as microphones surrounded him. Despite the trauma, his voice carried strength and dignity. Tonight's events prove that accountability must be swift and certain. Officer Thompson's actions do not represent the fine men and women of our police department. The crowd murmured agreement as justice began its swift march forward. Within hours, Thompson's badge and gun were permanently confiscated. The district attorney's office filed formal charges before sunrise, ensuring there would be no delays in prosecution. His mugshot appeared on every news channel by morning, a stark reminder that justice could move swiftly when accountability mattered. Mayor Johnson stood before the gathered crowd, his family beside him, their presence a testament to resilience. Tonight could have ended differently, he said, his voice carrying across the silent street. But Sergeant Santos chose courage over complicity. She chose what was right over what was easy. The mayor's words resonated through the community like ripples in still water. Effective immediately, all patrol officers will undergo mandatory bias training. Body cameras will be reviewed weekly, not monthly. And we're establishing a civilian oversight board with real authority to investigate misconduct. Children in the crowd held handmade signs reading, "Justice for all," and "Heroes wear badges too," referring to Sergeant Santos. Their innocent faces reflected a future where accountability wasn't exceptional, but as dawn broke over Riverside, something fundamental had shifted. Thompson's arrest sent shockwaves through the department, but it also planted seeds of hope. Change was no longer a distant promise, but a present reality, growing stronger with each passing moment of genuine reform and honest conversation.